All right, everyone, welcome back into yet another episode right here on JomezPro. It's All Birdies No Bogeys podcast with Brian Earhart, myself, Nate Perkins, and Brian is again out there on the ground for us up in Maple Hill. Brian, I know this is one of your favorite events of the season. Man, good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm exhausted. I'm absolutely exhausted. Maple Hill, I mean, as you know, you've been there a bunch of times. It takes a lot out of you mentally and physically. Not in a bad way. It's just, it's everything that we love about disc golf in one place. At least for me, from my little sliver of perspective, you get that loving, tight-knit DIY community mixed with the absolute future of disc golf and where we're going in regards to course design, talent, venue development. Yeah, it's just unbelievable the love you get from the people out there. And I was trying to find a place to say this on the broadcast, but I couldn't quite find the right time. But um, it really feels like to me, Nate, that this season everyone is starting to remember their role in this whole dream that we're all trying to push forward. And I really find it endearing. Looking at some of these younger players like Gannon and Cole, which we'll obviously talk about a lot more later, understanding that the eyes are on them right now and that they are responsible for carrying the torch of their division. But also, they know they have to put a show on. And I'm seeing it in FPO as well. The people realize that this is a spectator sport, and for them to make their living and make disc golf a global game, they got to be entertainers as well as competitors. So players are doing that. I'm seeing them take that responsibility by the horns. But then the fans come out and they're respectful, but they're excited and they're hyped up. And I don't know, man. Maple Hill just seems to set up for that. And I think Steve Dodge is just the perfect mad scientist. He joins UC Maresma as those guys that are not afraid to dream big, and they're just really good at executing something that other people wouldn't even imagine.
Well, let's see where I'd really like to start with some questions for you, Brian, because my first experience at Maple Hill, I I was enthralled right away because we've talked about this a lot in the past on this podcast that what for me makes a good disc golf course is the sense of immersion and being able to remember the layout of the land, being able to remember the holes. And I think that Maple Hill, better than almost any course in the world, there's nothing else out there, right? It's a Christmas tree farm, for one part of the year. People come out there, they harvest the trees, but other than that, there is nothing else but these unforgettable disc golf holes. And there's almost no better piece of land for our game than just the undulating hills that are out there with all of the water features that they have. And I think that Maple Hill for me just really holds on to the magic of our sport. And the first thing I want to ask you about, because for me, when I'm not on the course, I'm watching on the Disc Golf Network this week. For me, the single best thing as the spectator this week was the unpredictability of this course. Right, this year they had the B pins starting out, and that front nine. I don't know if there's any other course that's like this, Brian, but the front nine starts off with the B pins with 8 par 3s, and all of them are these insanely unique shapes. First off, what did you think of the new B positions that they kind of unveiled this season?
I really liked hole one in the par three placement. It's like 475 downhill right at the edge of the water. Same pin that the FPO plays, but from the MPOT. Players loved it. I didn't really hear any complaints about it. I feel like it's a perfect distance. 475 with a little bit of downhill is a perfect distance to watch pro disc golf in action. And I think hole one at Maple Hill all days is one of the best places to watch disc golf in the entire world. Par 3 position, you get to see guys run aces because that's essentially the way you can play the hole. Obviously, you can play wide and skip up to the pin, but if you're throwing high enough like some of these guys are doing, just spike it into the green. And then the long position, that's the original position. I'm still not sold on it for the FPO. MPO, I think it plays just fine as long as the wind is
Is that
not
just
down.
too hard? Is that too hard for FPO, or what's the take
Yeah,
there?
there was one birdie on the long position for the entire weekend, and it was Page. And the problem is, let me just see how long the hole is exactly. I think it's like 700. Let's see here. On round 3, hole 1 is playing at 705. So you got players throwing 400 and maybe getting a little over that. You're still having to throw a shot that goes 250 feet, and then you have to get to the gate, and then you have to bend around a corner to give yourself a look. Nobody's doing that. And the wind was not even that crazy. So to me, and I said this on the broadcast, for the FPO position in the long, bring that basket straight on to where if you're outside of the gate, you still have some sort of circle to look at the pin. So players get a little bit more aggressive sliding it up to the front of the gate. Sorry, you need to make the tee pad a little bit shorter if you want players to feel comfortable attacking it and trying to go through the Mando. But yeah, one birdie on the weekend. For the man, I think it's just fine. You got guys like Ricky slamming something flat and overstable, riding to the left. And that is what you have to do to open up the angle to actually skip one up to the pin from a comfortable position. So overall, and not to get too deep into just hole 1, I think they're fine. Hole 9 from the B position, don't like it. Paul Macbeth thinks it's the worst
B
hole
is
in the course.
short. B is
B is the long.
short
It went
end of the
BBAA.
Yeah, okay. B's the long up the hill. So I've heard a few players talk about the late trees on the other side of the pond. Is that what Macbeth is referencing for why he doesn't like it, or is it just too difficult out the gate as well?
He's talking about the second shot. So, and I kind of agree with him. So the hole is just gnarly. To actually get to a position where you can see the downslope and see the flat spot, you're throwing 460 maybe with shape. And I don't think you have room because of how it's sloped and how much there's an uphill. You don't necessarily get to throw a specific shot. What am I saying? It can't be like a flex. You don't have room to throw the flex. It has to be a
Right. The
very
scale's
specific
not
hyzer
there.
flip.
Just dead
Yeah.
straight. Yeah.
The problem is the second shot is awkward. And then when you hit the flat spot, there's all these little creeks and crevices and rocks. So it's a very, very small landing zone that's blind. So Paul, really doesn't like the hole from what he told me. But he said if you go to that tree line, so you go to the flat spot up towards the water, turn right, clear out all that underbrush on the right side, clear out all the little skinny twig trees, open up some lanes, then you're going to get guys throwing flex sidearms down the hill and crashing into the right side and then having to hit a gap across the water because the basket is still, 350 across the water uphill? It's a massive shot to get up to the green. So that's
it's a
something
big
that I think
shot.
would immediately make it better, is if you gave them some lanes on the right side to bail out, and if they want to give themselves a gap to get up to the pin, so be it. So that's what I think about 9. 13 short, great. Less fluky. You can just pure it, float it down the hill. We saw what happened with Cole Redolin. Just absolutely gorgeous ace. We'll talk about that more in a bit. And then just going through it, if we're going to do that, 17,
Sure.
18 for the FPO. I don't like the par 4 position for the FPO. It's a little too long, and they're playing a little bit too safe on it. I actually like the position that was on the right side that made them play along the rock wall, and they kind of had to pipe a gap to get out into position. It's just a very hard shot into the green, and if you're too far back, it's pretty easy to just say, no, I'm taking a 4 and I'm going to beat the field. So the par 5 from the MPOT, little bit better. I think a lot of players liked it. Some of the power players thought it was a little too soft. You could advance the fairway and then throw another basic chip, take your 4 and move on. So I still feel like FPO has a little bit to figure out with those tee pads on that hole. 17 par 3 didn't do a lot for me. It's essentially the same shot. What did you think, Nate?
Yeah, I just love the attempt to mix it up, right? I think when we have a 4 round tournament, I want to see different basket positions, and I didn't think they were perfect. I see the take on hole 9. I think it's also a fun hole to spectate because of the variety of ways that you get to see people play it, and just the sheer difficulty there. I think sometimes on a hole like that you get one player that kicks left and then the next player kicks far right. Like, it's hard to really understand where people are throwing their second and third shots really from. And sometimes that kind of loses me when I'm watching the network. Can't really get pulled into the story of that hole. But I do think that when someone plays it purely top of the hill, touchy shot to the bottom, and then pure in the inside line on a flip up like Casey White did, I think round 3, it was just magic, right? Like that, I think 9 speed that he's throwing on those hyzer flips, flipped it out the gap, touchy shot to the bottom, and then a steep hyzer flip to a 30-footer. It was a really special birdie. But I did want to touch a little bit more on just in general, the unpredictability of the front. And I just wanted to reference like a couple players that were in the mix, actually in the MPO, before we get into this FPO action a little bit more. But like, for example, Nathan Queen, round 1, he shoots 6 under on the front 9, right? 7 down for the day, which ended up being the hot round, but 6 under on the front 9. And then day 2, also pretty calm. He starts at 4 over through 3,
Yeah.
and he shoots
Yeah.
even on the front with 5 bogeys. And it essentially felt like it ended his tournament right there. And then you go Simon Lizotte, rounds 1 and 2, he shoots 9 down on the front total. And then round 3, 4 over on the front, and his tournament was essentially over at that point, right? I think he went bogey triple on the hole 8, and then bogeyed the 9th, and it was over for him. And I think that that unpredictability makes it a little bit more compelling, and the pace of it I love. It's rare. I think it probably is the only course that starts off with the 8 par 3s like that. And you'd like a little bit more golf, but I thought it was pretty fun and honestly entertaining, because all of the shots on the front 9 are different, right? They're 2 and 3 are the most
Definitely.
similar, and they're also specific, right? Like, 2 is most of the time they're playing that baby flex to get up the hill, but then 3 is, there's one way to get there, right? And it's the flex through the tunnel on the right side, and there's really no other way to get there without some luck on the left. And then the super touchy shot on 4, which people play like 10 different ways. A lot of players are jump putting, some players are just throwing the flat flick, and then the mandatory shot over the water on 5. I think that these shorter, really dangerous par 3s, I think, need to play a larger role in our game, because they're fun, they challenge the players, they frustrate the players, and it keeps us on our toes. You never know, even the players at the top, we can never fully predict how they're going to navigate the front here at Maple.
Yeah, you can rip through the front 9 in like 50 minutes. I remember one time I was on course and we got to hole 9 and I was like, wow, we are at 55 minutes for the front 9. We zoomed through it. And here's the thing, and you've experienced it, I've experienced it playing that course as well. It goes fast on the front 9, and if you don't get off to a hot start and you start bogeying a couple of these par 3s, it starts to feel weird. Like, everybody's moving so quick, tee pad to tee pad to tee pad to tee pad, but you're falling farther and farther and farther behind the rest of your card. It's a bad feeling. It feels like you can't catch a breath. And then that mixed with the fact that you got the people on 8 screaming and chanting and cheering. You got big galleries that are kind of crammed into these fairways. You have to prepare yourself for kind of a chaotic, stressful environment out here. This year, first off, huge shout out to the crowd control team. Huge shout out to the operations team. biggest shout out of all time to Greg Diaz, who just did his last Disc Golf Pro Tour event before he
No
goes and has
way.
his kid
Come on,
with
man.
Lucky Lorenzen. And yeah, he was super emotional. The 8 holes were cheering for Greg as he walked up the final time, gave everybody a bunch of big
Wow.
hugs. And yeah, they did such a good job maneuvering the crowd. And the crowd also behaved extremely well as well. But it's an adjustment to get used to playing on a course like that because yes, we play in front of people all the time, but not like that. Um,
Well, that
so
what brings up a good point right there, Brian, because I was watching a little bit of the Ryder Cup this week, and I kind of wanted to pit that against what your take is on the crowd at Maple Hill, right? Because I don't know if you've read any of the stories from there, but the Americans are like throwing drinks at, Rory and his wife, and they're like heckling them like before they're swinging the clubs. And I absolutely don't think that the crowd at Maple Hill is approaching that in any way.
no,
But from your perspective out there, do you ever feel that it's too much and that it's at all taking away from, the integrity of the competition?
that's a good question. I don't think so. And I'm talking to the players, and I don't think they think so either. I think there was a point where over time it just ramped up more and more and more and more, and kind of word got out. People started traveling there to go, go get drunk and go have a good time watching disc golf, which is what we all wanted. But there was a time when I felt like it was a little out of hand. But this year, things toned down a tiny bit on hole 8, even with more people there. It felt like it was a little bit more under control, and you can hear them throughout the entire property. But now, Nate, they've made other places on the course great places to go watch disc golf. 14, that's the place that I would go. There's bleachers right
14,
by the
man.
green. There's the splash zone right behind where I used to play my backhands across the water. Uh, that is a much better place to watch, in my opinion, than 8. I love hole 8. I want the ace runs, but you get to watch 440 shots over the water and hang out in the shade. And all the vendors right there, all the porta potties right there. So I think
Yeah,
that's what I think has evolved here is they've spread the fans out and made each and every spot to post up a memorable, awesome place to watch disc golf. So I do not by any means think
cool.
that they've gone over the line. Maybe at one point they did when they were kind of figuring out where the line was, but this year they found it. I thought it was great.
Cool.
What do you think?
I'm right there with you. I never felt like it mess with the integrity. I think that I heard a lot of players talking about it being frustrating, but I feel that if we really want the sport to take off, like distractions are just going to be a part of the picture, right? If we want 10,000 spectators at our biggest events one day, someone's bound to distract you, and maybe some people are going to do it intentionally, and we never want that, but it's just a byproduct of growth. And so as long as people aren't consistently, heckling players that they don't
Yeah.
like, then it's not really a problem. And I love to hear the cheers out there. It's crazy how much it comes through on the network. And even the champ Cole, he at the end was like,
Yeah.
I missed a putt on 5 because I had to reset from 8, and he wasn't bitter, right?
No.
He just understands that it's a part of it. So I'm right there with you, Brian. And my last question here, as we roll into FPO, was about the conditions on day one. Right, I tuned in halfway through the FPO day one, and I think I saw Cap Merch driving into the abyss down the hill on the 13th. Like, you cannot see where you're throwing the disc. And here's Missy right here, if you're watching on JomezPro, just teeing off. I don't think she can see the basket on the other side of the pond right there. And just
It takes
how
you
bad were those conditions, Brian?
it takes you about 10 seconds to locate the basket when it was at its worst. Um, it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And I think the players were all kind of in it together, just laughing about it. Like, yeah, it probably could be frustrating, but they were all sharing in this experience. And I talked to a bunch of players, and they all said the same thing. I've never seen fog like this before in my entire life. And really, you're just trusting your intuition, picking a point in the sky, hoping that you can find some semblance of a flag or the basket. And yeah, I don't know. I thought it was really special. And you talk to a lot of the people who live around that course, they all just thought it was the coolest thing. They absolutely loved it. I think all of us kind of got drawn into the moment from that. And it was honestly a great way to start the weekend. The worst part was the fact that we had never ending rain after that point. It was just all day for hours and hours on end. You know, all the camera guys are out there bagging everything up. There's all this extra tedious work that they have to do. I'm wearing a poncho. I got an umbrella. Like it's just annoying. And because of the bad weather, cell signal gets kind of rough, at least from what I understand. I had a rough time with cell signal all weekend, just on my own, like kind of connecting to the call with Terry and those guys. But yeah, weird day. And there was no lightning delays, so they just played straight through it. But interesting fact, as we jump into FPO, Nate, Silva Sarnen shot 8 under par, round 1, 1038 rated. Great round.
Filthy.
Missy Gannon, round 2 in the sunshine, shoots an 8 down, and it was 1043 rated. Interesting. It always confuses me when I see that. I understand it's a different algorithm that's not based on the weather, but to see that really kind of caught me off guard.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that, especially because typically, let's say we play a 3-round tournament, right? And it's all the same layout. Typically, I mean, this is almost to a T. Round 2 is usually the best average score to par. Round 3 players are playing for the win, kind of playing a little bit more match play. And round 2, they've got to figure the course out and they're letting loose. Typically, the field plays the course best during the second round. So to see that Missy, shot the same as Silva, and the average was just better. Or it was better during round 1, and so Silva's 8 didn't separate as much, even though it was raining, and potentially because, I mean, what we have? We had 13 people shoot under par during round 1, and let me see, I can pull it up real quick. And we had less during round 2, but we just had less people blow up. But Missy's bounce back right there to come back from the 943 rated round. She was 11 strokes off of Silva. And it felt like she was just kind of continuing her downward trajectory after the meltdown, really, of the end of round 3 and the final round at GMC. So for her to bounce back in round 2 like that, to get the ace, to get herself on Sports Center, I mean, it was honestly a career day for Missy, and I don't know where 1043 lands on her highest rated rounds all time, but it's probably top 3, right? If
I think
not
it's second all time.
Is it second all time? Yeah,
something like that. Yeah,
that makes sense. It was a career day for Missy to get herself back in the mix there.
The shot that they got, the clip that went into the broadcast, was an all-timer. They took the clip from Missy. I was getting ready to do a stand-up segment, which we do before like half the rounds, before the actual broadcast starts. And as we were getting ready, we got word that she aced. I looked at my phone. I saw it was hole 7. I kind of freaked out a little bit. Hobie, the guy on the gimbal camera that was getting me, sent my video to the broadcast, and they showed my reaction after
So
Missy's
funny.
ace.
Oh, it was so funny.
It was
I caught
hilarious.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was and then they showed it. They then cut to this gnome that was living on hole 7, which they have scattered out throughout the property. It was awesome to watch that. And that's the thing. You're talking about Maple Hill and how it sets up for just great, compelling disc golf. I think there were like 5 aces this weekend on ridiculous holes. Like Eagle McMahon got long 13, Cole got short 13, Missy got 7, Chandler Kramer got hole 8 in front of the gallery. This is Chandler Kramer's here if you're watching on YouTube. Of course, it's a forehand, high out to the left, and then air shot, just ching.
Wow.
Fans were waiting for that all day. I was on the green at 14 when that happened, and everyone was kind of freaking out, like, "Oh, who hit the ace? Who hit the ace?" But nobody had signal on hole 14, so nobody could look up the
Can't
scores.
check it.
Finally, one person with signal was like, "It was Chandler Kramer," and everybody threw their hands up in the air, and it
Yeah,
was a great moment.
Kramer's that was for so Kramer, he was on a 4 birdie stretch and then aces to go 6 down through 5 holes right there. He shoots 8 down for the day, 1072 on the day, but 7 under for the entire tournament, which is just 2 outside the cash. And that's something that to note here in these playoff events. I mean, this is brutal, right? We're talking 80 players and top 32 cash. So it's just tough. It's tough to make it happen out there. But yeah, super exciting. Do you know if Eagles ace in the long, he used to play that hyzer. Did you hear any word if he plinkoed into the basket on that
I
hyzer or if he's throwing the
forgot
putter up the
about that.
middle? Yeah.
I I don't know. I haven't heard anything, that's for sure.
That
I
would
wish
be
there was a video. I wish
crazy if he
somebody
threw
was
hyzer.
filming because if he got the ace throwing the hyzer over the tree line, that's the best ace of
Unreal.
the entire tournament. That might be the best ace of the entire season, if that's the case.
Yeah.
Besides Evelina's out there at Finnish Championships.
And Lance Brown's roller ace. I know that's not on the tour, but did you see
Yeah.
that?
Yep.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's like that's
Yeah.
one of the great disc golf videos, period. I
Uh-huh.
mean, that does barely even make sense. I'm like, there's no way I'm thinking, okay, this basket's in the bottom of a hill and he's just gonna dunk it. And it's actually it climbed up the hill again to make it. That was insane. Well, Brian,
That's one of the
jumping back
best
into
aces I've
FPO
ever
then
seen.
it absolutely is, and it's a shame that we can't see Greg Barsby's ace at Santa Cruz de la Viega, hole 4, the roller ace there, because that is also it's the same, right? Except Barsby's was in an NT, and he ends up going on to win that one in a battle with Doss. But jumping into the FPO, what I really love here is that we had Holland back this week, and that for me, we have the 3 players who are competing for Player of the Year battling yet again, right? Missy Gannon, Silva Sonnen, Holland Hanley. They're the ones for me when I look at the stats. They're neck and neck really for Player of the Year, and I think that what we're going to have to do to really determine this is look at the weight of some of these performances and weigh them against each other, right? We can't simply look at, hey, 3 wins versus 4 and 1 major. Like we need to look at the weight of the wins. And for me, this is one of the heaviest wins outside of a major, and the Elite Plus is these playoffs, and in particular, Maple Hill. So there was a lot riding on this event, and I wanted to ask you what you felt like Holland keyed into to really find her game, and then what you felt like you witnessed during that final day.
Yeah, Holland just looked under control. I think sometimes she gets a little ahead of herself in the woods, trying to articulate that well, but it feels like I don't know, whether it's adrenaline or stress or fear, it feels like she's not in the pocket. She's not directing shots when she's trying to hit gaps with intention. Um, and this week she did. She slowed down. I think for me, hole 2 is a good example for her. Even though it's not a gap, she slows down. She takes this Athena that's kind of stable, changes her posture, pulls the front shoulder down, and kind of forces over this down tempoed fairway driver shot and stayed in the pocket the whole way. Didn't stand up on it last second. She was doing that pretty much the entire week. Her forehand had so much power in it. She was getting the putter over the rim. This is her on hole number 8. Lucky. People struggle on this dead straight shot, man, but gets
Yep.
the putt right here.
Wow.
Nasty up over the lip. She just had that killer instinct with her. And you know what, man? Final day. just got stressed out. And when you play Maple Hill and you're stressed out, it's like I was saying earlier. When you start to fall behind, it's very easy to start to be like, oh no, what's going on? Let me check the scores. How many strokes have I lost to my card? Oh crap, we're on hole 10
Yep.
already. Oh no,
Yep.
we're already done with the front 9. We're on the castle hole. That's what it felt like happened. And Missy was just plugging away. She didn't play perfect, but she was just plugging away. And I feel like Holyn took some big, big numbers. It started out with a really
Yeah, the
short
3
putt
putt.
missed. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was brutal.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, side tangent, side tangent. The spit out for Missy Gannon on hole 6. This is going straight into Christmas party, Nate. This is gonna be blunder of the year contender. I'm gonna have Tosi go get this putt for us. 3-footer, Nate. I've never seen a putt spit out like that in my entire life.
Yep. Yep. That one hurts. And for the bogey, was that her only bogey of the day? That was her only bogey of the day, round 4. And yeah, I don't know how it happened. I still don't know how it happened from that close. Like it's one of those things too. If it's not an elevated basket, you can almost like reach in and just drop it down versus actually, sending it with force into the chains. And you hate to see it happen. You hate to see it happen on the baskets that the tournament is, that's representing the company that sponsored the tournament. So that was that was an unfortunate one. And Missy just played clean the rest of the day, right? I feel like, Silva's double on 8 was huge, missing the island there, and then not getting up and down. Here we go. Oh,
Oh,
oh, the shock.
run that back, Tosi. Oh, that's so bad.
I still don't know how it happened. Is it getting stuck on a link
It's
up
high.
there?
No, it's too high, but it's still, you're hitting dead center pocket and getting a 7-10 split, like I always say. It's just a low percentage putt. She threw it hard, and it was a little high, and it spit out. And yeah, but the thing is, she bounced right back. Everything was just fine. She's really good at laughing that kind of stuff off. I feel like the only time I saw her break character was flying around at GMC last week. And she finally wasn't able to laugh these mistakes off because they kept coming. And she even mentioned
Yep.
that she finally checked scores because she got stressed out. And
Yep.
she wanted to see if she was still in contention or she was still in the hunt. And lost the advantage. So here she is on hole 7, 352. This is the hole she aced. And yeah, just another dime. Little hyzer flip.
She's just driving so well, man. I mean, 14 for 18, circle 2 in regulation that final day. She missed half the putts from C1X, but it didn't matter. I think Maple Hill for FPO, yeah, it's about scoring as it always is, but to me, it's about minimizing the big mistakes. I think you go down the leaderboard and you see so many big numbers. You see double bogeys, triple bogeys on almost every person's scorecard, and without that spit out, Missy goes bogey free. And you take out the 940 round, and she didn't have a round rated under 1,000. So it was a commanding victory. Goes on to win by 4. And for me, I think this puts Missy right up there with Silva and Holyn for the player of the year, Brian.
I'm just gonna say it right now. I think she wins it. Who do you
You
think
think she
Missy's
wins it?
biggest competition is?
Well, so I was diving into this a little bit. Missy, 3 Elite Series wins and 3 Elite Series podiums outside of those wins, but she has 7 top 5 podiums, right? And 1 major win. Now let's compare that to Silva, 3 Elite Series wins, so they have the same. Missy has 2 Elite Plus wins, and a playoff win, right? So Silva, 4 Elite Series podiums. So Silva has 1 more podium, 1 less top 5. I think we throw in Silva's Finnish national title in there. I think you can do that, even though Missy's not able to compete at that one. and then one major win for Silva as well. So for me, Silva and Missy are a little bit ahead of Holyn because Holyn didn't get a major win,
Yeah.
even though
Yep.
Holyn has 3 top 5s at majors, and her worst major finish was 8th, right? And when you this is where it gets difficult because I really think Silva and Missy are neck and neck right here, and this is why I mentioned I feel like we have to go and look at the weight of these wins because I don't know how you compare the Champions Cup to the European Festival, right? Like the Champions Cup's been around for a few years. Do you consider the European Festival a continuation of European Open because it wasn't World? So, what's the weight of that win? I feel like the prestige of that one is pretty high because of the way the tournament's presented and how big it felt over there, how many people watched it, like you had Kristen playing well. So, I don't know how would you, if I put you on the spot right here, Brian, how would you weight the different major wins, Champions Cup versus the festival?
I would call them extremely similar. That's it. I think they're on the exact same tier when it comes to majors. I think they're just below the World Championships. Yeah, I don't think there's any difference. I mean, the courses are
Okay.
different, the country that they're playing in is different, but no, you win a major championship, everybody's there. Look at the European Disc Golf Festival. Everybody was there. I mean, we might have been missing a few people. Everyone who should have won that tournament was there for the most part. So yeah,
Yep.
here's my thing. Here, I only care about the non-wins for the most part as a tiebreaker. In my eyes, right now, Missy has the same amount of wins as Silva, same amount of majors as Silva, but she's won 2 of the like nearly major quality
Yep.
tournaments. She won the bigger tournaments, and I feel like that's why she wins Player of the Year. I have a thought experiment for you, Nate. Imagine a player who wins a major, not the World Championships, but they get second place at every other tournament they play that year. They play a full tour. Second, one Champions Cup. Do they win Player of the Year?
I think it would just have to depend on who they're going up against, right? Because you could have another player with, several wins, but then terrible the rest of the season. So
Holyn and Missy this year. That's who
Holyn
they're
and
going
Missy
up
this year.
against.
That's who they're going up
Yeah.
against. Yeah, I don't think they win. I think that I think that there is a massive difference between second and first. I think there's only one winner in a golf tournament, right? And I think that we have to honor that, and those have to be weighted because it takes so much more. Um, just grit and skill for a competitor to go from second to first than it does from fifth to second, right? Because that final hump is the most amount of belief that you have to have in yourself to step through that door. And so I really do think that there's a lot of great stories from good finishes that we have to keep our eye on, but we have to weight these wins, right? So I'm with you. I think that the tournaments outside of the wins are the tiebreakers, and I think right now with Missy and Silva that we're at that point where we have to look at the tiebreaker, and I think we don't get there until we're done with the season because the Tour Championship for me is top 5, maybe top 3 tournament. Like if you win Tour Championship, I think
For
that's
sure.
bigger than it's not as big as Worlds and that's not as big as a major, but it's the next rung. I think it's bigger than any elite or elite plus, including Maple. So I think we're just going to have to wait and see. And yeah, it's pretty sweet what's going on here in FPO.
Yeah. Well, overall, my reflection is that Missy is a consummate professional. She's the blueprint for what it means to be a pro disc golfer. I think anyone who wants to go be a pro disc golfer should watch exactly what Missy's doing, carry themselves the way that she's carrying herself. She shows up to any obligation, whether it's media, interviews, press conference, match play, tournaments, and she understands what's expected and then goes above and beyond. I'll never forget when she came to an all-star media day where a lot of players are showing up and they're just like, okay, all-star event, let's just get this over with. Let's go do this. Missy shows up. She brought like a, what did she bring for own? They were doing a joint press conference. She got her a walker. That's what it was. She was pretty much just saying, hey, oldie, I'm going to come beat your ass. And got her a custom walker that she made for her to talk trash during the interview. And little things like that she just does frequently. And I don't need you to be, animated like that to be a professional, but she buys into what the tour is doing. She's on the player committee, so instead of complaining, she actually puts her money where her mouth is and tries to make change happen and build relationships. And then when she's on the course, she acts like a pro. She talks to the fans. She's always waving and smiling at the little girls that come out to watch her play. She understands what the job actually is. You don't just show up,
Yep.
take your paycheck, and leave. That might be sustainable for a little bit, but she's leaving a lasting impact and she's leaving a legacy behind that is allowing other people that come after her to know what they're
Yep.
supposed to do. So huge shout out to
Yep.
Missy. Unbelievable victory. She goes back to back at the most legendary tournament in the sport. And then Nate, MPO, I got goosebumps all week long, man. We had Casey White doing well on a lead
Yep.
card.
It's a great
We had
story.
Harry
Yep.
Chase battling for a wild card spot. We had Paul
Yep.
Kranz on the lead card, championship
Again.
Sunday.
Again.
He's tapped into something special, man, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I think the big thing we should talk about, what do you think about the wild card? I think that made this tournament so exciting
Yep.
for everybody. I loved it.
Yep. Every year, the tweaks that they have made to kind of determine who's going to make it into the championship, they've gotten better and better, and this is by far the best set of rules that they've come up with. Because yes, it was okay. I'm not going to make it. I don't have anything to play for.
Who
I mean,
cares?
I'm way out there. I just don't have anything to play for, and this was everything. And you had people that didn't have that great of a season that found a stride late, and it's like we want to see them continue on. Like I want to see Lettinen, Rasmus Sakaripi like have a chance to continue playing. So I'm right there with you. I felt like this was like the first time where I was checking something consistently outside of just the live, right? I was going and looking at the Statmando live disc golf pro tour qualification, which was an amazing feature. And you can just see, Gavin Rathbun is in X place in the tournament, and he's the first one that's qualifying that's not in. And sadly, Gavin Rathbun uh bit the dust late.
Ugh,
Takes a 10 takes a
tragic.
10 takes a 10 on the whole 18
He's
whole
probably never
18.
done that.
No, there's no way he's done that in his entire career. And he's fortunate to still cash. He gets last cash, shoots 2 over for the day, 9 down for the tournament. But to have a chance to continue on the disc golf pro tour and have continue playing for one of the biggest purses ever, it's going to sting, right? It's going to sting. And I didn't see who took down the playoff, Harry Chase or Rasmus. How did it go down?
I believe it was Rasmus Salkaripi. So let me just double check. But there was a playoff between Harry Chase and Rasmus. Rasmus did end up winning the playoff, but Harry Chase
Okay.
made like a 70-footer to push the playoff. It was an
Wow.
absolute bloodbath between the two of these
On hole
guys.
one?
Harry Chase has crazy pop, crazy power. Rasmus might be the most powerful thrower I've ever seen on planet Earth. I've never seen a shot on hole one come out with that kind of power. And even Macbeth comes up to me and he's like, what do you think he threw? Firebird, flat top Firebird, and it went like 650. Someone was joking that he threw a Toro. He's an
Wow.
absolute monster. I need to see this guy's tech disc stats. Honestly, I need to see what he's throwing. Um, but they got the wild card. Three Finns get the wild card. Rasmus, Nestre Tukkanen.
Mm-hmm.
Let me double check this
Laurie
though.
and
And
Laurie.
Lauri Lehtinen and Chris
Yep.
Clemens grabs the
Wow.
spot, man.
That's
Yeah.
huge, man. Yeah, what a cool deal. And yeah, to get that spot, Nestori got 10th, Chris Clemens 11th, Laurie 11th. So you like they're not just giving it away, right? This is
No,
high level golf. Like Nestori played great. He played great. He averaged 1039 for the tournament and gets top 10 at Maple. And I think this is going to transition me right into what makes this a memorable tournament is the level of play for 10th, the level of play for last cash compared to the level of play for the win. Because this was one of the um, highest tournaments all time for event average, but also just the eye test, right? Like Cole Redolin shoots 21 under on the final 36 holes bogey free, and he averages 1076 for the event, Brian, which is top 10 all time on the disc golf pro tour for event average. It's just it was an unheard of separation from the rest of the field. I think that without Ricky was three back. Without Ricky shooting 1100 essentially was that day two. He shot that 12, shot 1097 day two, and was just on a roll, right? The Raptor was back. He closed with 1080. He would have had to shoot 1115. Without him, Cole and Gannon just demolished the field, right? Sexton was kind of comparing it to the McBattle. I don't think it was on that level of Eagle and Paul a few years back at European Open, but it was right up there with
it
probably
was close.
top five performance for a win all time. What did you think, Brian?
Well, I think Sexton gave us some commentary gold on four. Actually, I was kind of fired up, just kind of geeking out about the segment that he gave us on that hole, and I texted the group because I was just too fired up. I was like, "That is just fantastic stuff, Nate." And he essentially was talking about how Gannon has shown us clearly what his ceiling is already, and he's 20 years old. You're not going to know what an athlete is made of by age 20. You're going to know what an athlete is made of as he progresses from 20 to 30. We're watching Paul McBeth. He just got fourth in the tour point standings after battling back from playing like, frankly, crap to his standards. And now he's got 2 wins, takes fourth place. He's 35. So it's a long journey to find out who you are as an athlete. And what Sexton said was, Gannon's already shown us his ceiling a few times. I don't think we've seen Cole's yet. Who knows? We might see Cole's athletic prime at 25. We might see Cole get to a place where he's better than Gannon, where he starts to get Gannon's number. Paul Kranz, who is improving at a rapid pace. I am so impressed with Paul Kranz. We could see him, late bloomer, 27 years old, winning major
Mm-hmm.
championships left and right. He weighs 122 pounds right now and told me he wants to put another 15 pounds on this offseason. It depends on how
Which
these
is a
guys
point I
move.
want to bring up. I want to bring up and let me know, Brian, if let me know, challenge me on this because I think that, and I want to really let the viewers know, I feel like Paul Kranz, his path to stay consistent with a player like Gannon Burr, Anthony Barella, Cole Redolin, I think that his path is much more difficult because of his size. I think that when I'm watching Paul Kranz play, I love his swing, but I think that he has to actually physically exert himself significantly more to get the same speed on the disc when I watch Gannon Burr and Cole Redolin throw the disc, right? And do you feel like that is a relevant a relevant difference, right? Because he just has less leverage on the disc. So he has to fire those muscles like all in sync to get the same pace. Like he's ripping the disc. If you're watching on JomezPro, he's popping the disc. And when I watch Gannon, it looks like he's just gently guiding his arms open. And for me, I think that makes it easier to kind of stay in time. What do you think about that?
Well, I understand what you're saying. Do I think he needs to put on weight to be, continuing to be a better player? No. We're looking at Wemby in the NBA. His coaches are saying, don't do what everybody had said before about these big guys. Don't put weight on them. The more weight you put on them, the more stress you're going to put on them. I'm not saying that Paul Kranz is Wemby, but I'm saying like you got a guy who's staying slender and working on mobility. He does a bunch of stuff with his feet and his ankles to try to like improve his stability in his muscles rather than just building raw strength. So I don't think that Kranz needs to do that in order to continue to be good. And here's the thing, Nate. At
Well, I'm talking
122
about
pounds,
his levers are 2 feet. His levers are 2 feet shorter. I'm not even talking about weight. I'm talking about Paul Kranz's wingspan is like 5'5" when Gannon's is like pushing 7.
Nate, he's throwing
It's a
70
hard
miles an
thing to
hour.
overcome. Hmm.
He's throwing 70 miles an hour, only about 4 or 5 miles an hour slower than Gannon, and 1,700 RPMs at 122 pounds. He's fine. And you know why I like him? His entire, I wouldn't say career, but his entire time building up to this point, he just threw into a net. He filmed himself, and he only cared about aesthetics. I talked to him at the press conference at Polar Park. He was just like obsessed with how his throw looked. He wanted it to be flawless and effortless. And the thing I like about him, Nate, that I think he's really done well to optimize, his off-arm movement is really good. And this is what you see with a lot of these kids. Watch his off-arm. It's just that 1-2, that little swim move before the disc actually goes, that creates the lag that he needs to throw the disc effortlessly. I mean, come on. That's 440 on a hyzer. Yeah, maybe some strength training would be great for his injury prevention, but I think he's already throwing effortlessly. This late flip on 17, oh, it had me feeling emotions, Nate. It's such
Yeah,
a
one of the
good
better
shot.
drives. That was one of the better drives on 17 the whole week, especially for the backhand. Yeah,
So
I'm glad to hear your perspective on that because I wonder if that's a difference, right? I wonder if it's harder for him to hit the disc because he has less leverage, or if it's not really that big of a factor.
I just don't think a lot of these courses require you to utilize all of that power. Like, you're right. Theoretically, Gannon can throw putter when Kranz is not throwing putter. But the thing is, Kranz is throwing with so many RPMs, he makes a fairway driver look like a putter. And that's where RPMs are a good thing at the top level of disc golf. You can make these faster discs fly dead straight, not move, not flip over, and land softly at the end. I think if Kranz can theoretically gain a few more miles per hour, get up to 74, 75, maybe that's where the muscles come in. He said he was going to try to work on it this offseason. I think he's good forever. That's it.
Sweet, sweet.
And I
Love that.
firmly believe after talking to him and talking to his family and watching him approach the game, I love how intentional he is, how hard he cares about his focus and his belief in himself. He's just tapped into that. He's tapped into something special. He really truly believes that this journey that he's on is his destiny. I can just tell, and he's so young already. I know he's on the path. And I was talking to Gannon, and I was like, "What does Kranz have? Like, why now?" And Gannon just looked back and said, "He's finally believing in himself. Paul Kranz is the GOAT," and he's known that for a while. So I'm excited for him, man. Quick side tangent before I let you go. He told me that he threw 1,700 RPMs at 70 miles an hour. I was talking to Paul McBeth about this, and I was actually talking to the tech disc guy, Mike, that we've worked with before about this. We talked about a pound for pound world distance champion. What if we did that with tech disc? What if we got everybody all around the world together to do a tech disc pound for pound distance competition to see who would actually be the champion?
Love it. Let's cut that part out so that no one else swoops the idea, because that's gold. That's such a good idea.
Okay,
We
we can
could
cut that.
we no, no, I'm just kidding. Leave it in there. Leave it in there, but let's run it. You heard it here first, because that's a genius idea. And I think stuff like that with distance, like we've never had a proper distance competition, and especially divvying it out to their stature, right? And to determine pound for pound would be huge. People would tune in from all over the world. So I love that idea, Brian.
Yeah. I heard from Macbeth that there's a lot of guys on tour that are claiming they're the pound for pound champion. So I feel like it's about time. And the coolest thing is they might all get beaten by a 12-year-old kid. If it's like pounds per feet or something like that, they might all lose to some kid who lives in the middle of nowhere, which I think would be so cool. Send us an email, abnbpod@gmail.com. How do you think the best way of handling this via TechDisc would be? We're already working on it. I spoke to Michael at TechDisc. I'm not sure if it's actually going to come to fruition anytime soon, but it might. But Nate, from your perspective watching, what did you pick up from that final day?
I think that watching, so here's what I feel about the state of disc golf right now in the MPO division is it's all about who's going to show up and compete with Gannon Burr, right? Gannon Burr is still inevitable, and I think that he's obviously setting the bar every week and pushing it to a place where you have to approach perfection to even sniff a victory, right? 34 under for a 4-round event at Maple Hill in this layout is absolutely insane. And I think if you ask Culver Dolan before, like, am I going to be able to get there? It puts way too much pressure on it, right? So what I saw from Gannon is the same thing we've seen from him all year: laser focused, minimal mistakes. I think the one kryptonite that I felt from Gannon was that his circle two putting is off the charts. Like the way that, I mean, from fairway putting, like his like 80 and 90-foot runs all week, if he didn't sink them, like they were missing by inches, right? He's doing these full flex shots. That one on 7, I think it was day 2 up the hill, didn't look makeable, made a couple on the back 9 from out in the fairway. I think that the confidence that he had in his circle 2 putting actually came back to bite him just a little bit, right? There was a moment, it was, I think, hole 13. He's like 75 feet away, and the basket is up, and it just the ground disappears behind the chains, right? And it just felt like a clear moment to lay up and move on, and he ran it, and it bit him big time. And I don't even know if he's going to look back on that and regret it at all, because of the way that he was putting from C2 and from range. Because if he makes that, I think that it's a different outcome, right? So that was the one chink in the armor there. And then the kind of instability or lack of confidence that he felt on the tee of 17. I don't know how much harder that tee pad looks, but it was playing insanely difficult. Brian, what did you think of this change right here on the 17th?
All right, so I love this tee shot. It is nervy. It's like 7, 8 feet across, staggered gap, and it's like 90 to 100 feet off the tee pad. So go ahead, get as aggressive as you want. You want to throw a late flip turnover? Go give it a try. The shot that Kranz had to throw to get to the landing zone was gorgeous, super high level. So you're seeing guys throw a lot of tentative forehands. So in a weird way, it's similar to hole 17 at Winthrop, where you got to step up and throw a committed shot. That's it. And this one is just a little different because you got a much bigger landing zone, but you have to hit it with a lot of power. The problem with this hole, and I talked to a lot of players throughout the week, is that the landing zone itself is to a Christmas tree farm. Like you're throwing to a Christmas tree farm, and it's never going to be this beautiful green piece of grass. So you're throwing this extremely hard gap, almost feet away from the tee pad, 7 to 8 feet across, and then you have to bend a corner, and then you have to find this flat spot that's very little. So a lot of times you're throwing something 400 plus feet from uneven ground, and there's likely a little sapling right next to you. So I think if they just bit the bullet and cleared out that area a little bit, even if it's hilly like it is now, I think it would be phenomenal. I think it would be instantly one of the holes on the course that you could call, I wouldn't call a signature hole, but it's definitely a checkpoint. And I think it being placed at 17 is perfect. That's what I gathered. A lot of players that said it's almost perfect. I saw Gannonberg go up to our VP of Tour Operations, Brian Cole, and they had a phenomenal conversation about it. I loved Gannon taking responsibility and understanding his role and the impact he could have. Instead of going online and complaining like some people have done in the past, he went, had a real conversation. Brian Cole said, "Yeah, that's good information." And to me, that's how things change for the better. So good job, Gannon. Hats off to you. That's how we make everything move forward. And yeah, 17 is going to be sick, I think, when it breaks in.
And then, Gannon Burr puts the pressure on, right? Puts it on the green on 18, and Cole's forehand out the gate on 18 was massive, right? And I know that he has that shot, but when you're navigating the course the way that he is, and you're riding the smooth backhand all day, even on some forehand shapes, and then you just bust out this right here, this what probably is this 440 or 425 or something on this flex line to get past those willows right there, like slightly uphill, probably pushing that. And then
It was
if you're
huge.
watching here on JomezPro, I think this was probably the most surprised I had been about a player attempting that shot in that moment. And then to come to find out that he knew the scores and still did it. I mean, he's a madman, right? To lean on the game plan and to not play the pitch up and the little putter shot. Can't fault him for it because he executed, but I was blown away to attempt that shot. Can't even count on one hand how many players have lost the tournament going for the green on 18. Brian, where were you standing when Cole picked up the fairway, and when did you realize that he was actually going for the green on his second shot?
Pretty quickly, man. I was standing right next to him. Not right next to him, but I was right, pin high with him on the fairway. And yeah, it's pretty simple shot. Like if you're laying up, you throw that forehand 400 feet, you can pop a putter up there, no problem. It's actually alarming how many people get themselves caught up in that pine. Whenever I played that hole, I had never once gotten caught up there. So it blows me away when people find it. So Cole told me in the interview afterwards, he hates that mini shot up to the green. He hates the layup and the layup again. He doesn't feel confident that he's able to get up and down from there. So I don't know if he's gotten burned in the past or, he threw one of his approaches long and went OB, but he felt like it was just a better move to go for it. And then it's an automatic playoff rather than something worse happening. I don't know, but he said he just felt it. And here's the thing. Before 18, we have 14. Gannon goes, hits the base. Gorgeous shot. Cole
Incredible.
answers. 15. He throws the dime. Mid-range, up the gut. Gannon's trying to throw this flex shot with a fairway driver, trying to kind of cheat the hole. Cole steps up, ice cold, laser beam to the bucket. Watch this shot.
Wow.
Perfect. Opens the hips up early, board flat, stable disc. That's a touch player's dream shot right there. And then 16. So this is this gorgeous shot of 15 if you're watching on Jomez. And I'm like, okay, this boy's coming to play disc golf on this last stretch. 16's tee shot.
Slip ace hole.
This was
What?
as perfect as it gets. And I hear Gannon in the background go, nice shot, trying to congratulate him. Cole doesn't even look at him. He just kind of
Wow.
coyly goes, thanks, everyone, looks down, and just slowly walks away, sits down, and goes,
Wow.
all right, bud. That shot blew my mind.
Wow.
And I called
Yeah,
him out on it. I
the
was
amount of
like,
control.
it was amazing. And I called him out afterwards when we were walking to the pond. I said, that shot on 16 made me feel something, man. And he goes, what about my drive on 15? That made me feel even more emotion than 16. And then 17, bang, bang, full power flex sidearm out the gap. He was a man possessed at this point, out of body experience for him. And Gannon had thrown a phenomenal second shot, put himself to circle's edge from 400 plus feet. And he goes, floaty putter. See ya. The thing I like about Cole is he can smash the driver. He struggled with it for a little bit. He told me that his ability to switch back from the touch to the power was waning at certain points when he was dealing with his hip injury. He can do both now. He can smash the driver, but now he can float the putter. He has great touch. He has way better touch than Gannon, in my opinion. His putting stroke is gorgeous. I think it's going to keep getting better. Yeah, he's got a really, really nice, full, complete skill set. And it was just a matter of time that he got this win, but I did not think it was going to be this soon. After all the time that he took off, um, and yeah, like he said in the interview, as he was almost crying, he almost couldn't walk up the fairway at Ledgestone. His hip was
Yeah.
that bad.
Yeah. It seemed like he had no answer for a while too. I mean, he was playing all throughout the year, but he wasn't practicing. Right. I recall him saying he only had enough in the hip to come out there and like slowly play a tournament round. Right. And he was even limited on some shots because the hip was just frankly just getting stuck. And so, yeah, this is an amazing story. One of the best stories that we've had all season is Cole to continue to push through that injury. And he's another player. I think you mentioned this last week about Cole and the way that he's owned this as his profession for some time now. I think 4 years now. He's like, yeah, I'm a professional disc golfer. This is what I'm doing as a career. There's no other option. There's no like, am I going to make it? This is just what I'm doing. And I'm going to do everything in my power to, put physically stay well enough to compete and work on the things that I'm lacking to not be able to win the tournaments. And he showed us that he can win at Ledgestone. I think what did he shoot 13 or 14 down at Eureka Temp to take his first Ledgestone down? Was it last year or maybe even 2 years ago? Was it
It was 2
23?
years ago, I believe.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was 23. And so we know where he can bubble up to. But this is Cole's clearly the best win of his career. Gannon Burr averages 12 over his rating. He averages 1074 for the event. He didn't have a
Uh-oh.
single dull round, Brian. Gannon's worst round was the final round, 1065 rated with 3 bogeys, and he what is he ends up losing by 1. Right? So this is Cole Redolin beating the clear number 1 player in the world at one of the premier courses after overcoming injury. I think, remember, going into GMC, Cole's average finish on the season was like out in the 30s, right?
Yeah.
Gannon's
Yep.
average finish on the season is like second or something insane. So this is a career moment for Cole. And yeah, I love the highlight that you pulled there on 15 and 16, because I think to carve 16 like that
Mm.
pure is rare. I think that
Mm-mm-mm.
that hole gets birdied a lot, but a lot of times people peel over and you have to
It's
kind of
lucky.
chance those trees. You got to chance those trees on the right. That was pure to carve it all the way up the middle. But what that did more so was it gave Cole the box, right? Gannon took the box on 14, and then gets the birdie on 15. So Gannon has the box there. If Cole pars and Gannon is the one that pushes out the gap on 17, could be a different tournament. But instead, Cole gets one of the better par threes on the course, takes the box, and then hammers the flick out of the gate. So it was an amazing finish. Incredible for him to go for the green, and love feeling the emotion from the guy, seeing the fire too. He's really
Oh yeah.
composed out there, and the pace that he was bringing on the tee and really smooth delivery on the putting green. He looks like he's all calm, but then you kind of hear on some of the shots, like when he missed the shot on 14, you kind of felt that fire spew out a little bit, right? He
Yeah.
was like noticeably upset at that. And then, the roar when he tapped it in. So I personally, I love to feel that fire.
Well, the difference between Gannon and Cole, they're very similar in age. Gannon is starting to really carry himself like a pro. I really was proud of how he carried himself in China. I heard a lot of stories of fans coming up to him in the alleys, like he's out hanging out in public at some pro shop, and fans are out there, and he stayed out, till late at night putting with them in the streets, like getting people all fired up, making new fans, and carrying himself like a professional. But then at the end of the day, when I'm talking shop with Gannon, he's a kid. He can be really goofy and really funny, like almost in a little brother or like little cousin type way. He can be a little snot. Cole, I haven't seen that ever.
It's not.
I see a grown man with
Yeah,
a 2-car garage and a wife and like 6 kids. That's what I see when
that's
I
funny.
interact with Cole.
It's
I see
so
a man who
true.
packs up his briefcase and gets to the disc golf course and clocks in and does what he's supposed to do.
That's
And you know
so
what?
funny. That's spot on.
Good for you, man. Good
Yep.
for you, Cole. And I truly see how much he loves this game. So the mix of the serious nature and also the pure love for the sport and all of its facets. Like he loves the competitive side, but he really loves just throwing a frisbee and talking shop as well. So kudos to him. Career ace on 13. And one of my favorite interviews that I got to do
Cool.
was with Cole
Dude,
today. And
when he
yeah,
grabbed the mic, that's the first time I've
love
ever
that,
seen
dude.
someone grab the mic, Brian. You're like, all right, take it, man. Take the mic.
Take it, baby. But then okay, so he floated this in, beautiful ace on 13 short. And then in the interview afterwards, he goes, "That shot's so me. That shot is just so me." And I love that he's like, "Yeah, I aced 13 throwing my absolute favorite shot to throw with a disc. Floaty putter down the hill, air shot into the
It's so
basket."
fun. That is so
Mm.
fun. I love that new position. I love it. You said, what'd you say? Little less fluky there. I'm right there
You can
with
pure it.
you. I think that, yeah, I love the long position as well because it's such a memorable birdie, but it is hard to pure. And you see some bad shots get better results than some really good shots, right? So I think I love the short position, and it adds a little bit of element of touch, right? Because you can't just air it down there and hope to hit the ground, hope to get a root. You have to have that touch. Saw a lot of people, playing it a cool way, just kind of skipping it early and letting it push up there. So I love that change. And yeah, it was a great week for disc golf, man. And I don't know if I already mentioned this before, but Cole goes 21 under on the last 36 holes, Brian, bogey free. Luke Taylor gets 5th place, top 5, and he shoots 21 under for the tournament. So this gives you some perspective on the level of play that Cole reached during the final 36 holes on Saturday and Sunday. He could have got 5th place in this tournament with 36 less opportunities to
Oh
score,
my
which is
gosh.
it's
Yeah.
just insane, man. It's unheard of, and it's a career moment. Definitely top 5 for me all time on the tour.
I agree. I don't have too many other words. All I can say is that uh, that place always restores my hope and faith. I mean, I'm not lacking any hope and faith right now, but Yeah, I'm beaming, but I'm also just so tired. There's so much energy out there. I fist bumped like 30,000 people, it felt like. I hugged like 1,000 people. I shook so many hands. Some
Yes.
guy gave me his mixtape and was like, "Hey, here's my mixtape." I'm like, "Yes, give me that mixtape." I threw
For
frisbee
the
with
pod,
people
for our
after the.
intro, mixtape
I don't know. I
intro.
haven't listened to it yet, but I threw frisbee with people. I freestyled with a Hall of Famer. I jammed with him.
Cool,
Like,
man.
there's so many things that you do out there at Maple Hill, and my favorite part, and we really don't get a lot of this anymore. The players and the fans all mingle together as one big family afterwards, and it's so special. Um, today. Uh, James Conrad, Noah Mindsma, that whole crew was on the upper deck at the Sap House. People were down the fairway on 18. Paul Oman was down there. I was down there. Some kids were down there. And we were chucking frisbees up to the top balcony. They were throwing them back down to us. And it was happening like every day after the tournament. And everybody just stays there. And yeah, hats off to Steve Dodge. He's cultivated exactly what I know he wants for the sport of disc golf, which is preserving the history and prioritizing the culture and the social element of it, while also continuing to push the pro level as high as you can possibly push it. So yeah, I'm blown away. I hope we can find more venues like Maple Hill, and I hope we can develop some more special places like that. That's my last thought.
Sweet, Brian. Well, for my last thought, I just want to give a shout out to some players that moved up into the Tour Championship. Of course, we already mentioned the four that played it in, right? Lowry, Nestori, Rasmus, and Chris Clemens, and then Matty O moved up 4 spots to take the
Yes.
last spot. He pushes out
Yes.
Jake Mon. Jake Mon drops 1. Maudie Villman drops from 29th to 30th. So he is out. Austin Turner is out. Ulibarri is out. He was close. Joey Bucket, Silas Schultz, Ben Calloway is out. These players had some real opportunities, of course, throughout the season, but they
But
had
they
real
won.
opportunity this week. They had opportunity this week.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Callaway
So
and
you're
Villman
saying
won.
Callaway and Villman are in, of course. Thank you for that correction. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm on the live standings right now on Statmando, and it has them in qualifying positions, but doesn't have their name highlighted for the win. So,
Yeah.
thank you for that. But it's sweet to battle all year. Matty O coming back and getting a spot like that. Gets 11th at Maple Hill to move up and just barely beat out Jake Mon. 800 points on the season versus Jake Mon's 788. So
Oh.
big moment there. And we've got a week off, and then we've got USDGC. The men have one more major left. Women have Throw Pink, which is arguably
It's a
X
major.
tier major. It's an X tier major for sure. And so we've got a lot of great disc golf left, Brian. I'm looking forward to
You're
it.
coming to my house. You're coming to my
I'm
house.
stoked. I'm stoked, man. I'm really
Let's
looking
go.
forward to some good coffee and just to get back to Winthrop and to be a part of the broadcast again. I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, with that, folks, we are wrapping up this week's episode of All Birdies No Bogeys. Thank you so much again. The regular season and the playoffs and the Disc Golf Pro Tour are complete. We now head to Major and Tour Championship season. Oh my gosh, I feel like I blinked and we are here. Good night, folks. I am delirious. I need to go. Bye, everyone. Bye.